Today we got Chris Worrell on with us to talk about his J6 experience and life after. If you want, Chris, would you just kind of maybe give us an idea of what was going through your head in the weeks or months, the lead up to J6? What made you go?
Thanks for having me on the show, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
And give me this opportunity. I think after years of going through this, 4 years now, I think it's pretty easy to say and know that it was a spiritual calling. Many of us talk about it. Didn't understand it. Took 4 years to really kind of understand it. But I do believe there was a spiritual calling that day. And then look, I refuse to hear anything other that the 2020 election was stolen. And anybody that's got their head in the sand and believes otherwise, well then, okay, you're entitled to your belief, but I got no time for it. 2.2 to 2.5 million, that's the number I've seen showed up in Washington, D.C. that day from across this country and and some distant lands as well, some other countries, because they saw what was happening. And it's not a coincidence. So if there was 2.2 million that showed up, how many millions couldn't make it and wanted to be there?
Right.
So there's my reason for going. On top of the fact that there were groups like Antifa and the BLM, some of them were attacking people, leaving them for dead in the alleys in D.C. I was up there in December. We tried to get to them. The cops protected Antifa. It was insane. And then here we are getting attacked on January 6th. And the Fed insurrection is there. I also don't care to talk about anything else other than that on that side of that coin. If you have a different coin you want to talk about, well, keep it moving. I'm sorry. I lived it for 4 years. I got nothing to talk about with you.
Right on.
But that's my basis of why I went. This country called me. Look, Donald Trump called on us.
Right on.
Come protest this. This is BS. And here we are. And here we are today. Pardoned. I just got it at 10:54 last night. I got notice from Judge Lambert's chambers. My case was dismissed as moot, which means you had no evidence.
Right on.
For those that don't want to, look that up. Dismissed as moot. Look up what it means. That means it had nothing.
Jeez.
It's not dismissed because of the pardon, although they had to. That's what pushed it down the road. But it's interesting that they did exactly what the appeals court, because I was in appeal, and appeal came back on February 3rd and said, we remanded it back to the D.C. district, which is Judge Lambert for me. We recommend you dismiss as moot, and he did last night at 10:54. His clerks were working awful late on these dismissals for January 6th, and I pray for Judge Lambert, and I mean this with all sincerity. I pray for that man. He's an old man. He ended these trials with a walker coming into the courtroom. He slept during better than 60% of my 4.5 days of trial. Apparently, there's nothing you can do about that.
Right on.
And I have like a notepad with times written down. Like I did an hour and a half timing. I think he slept for 100 and I don't know. It was it was like 80 something minutes out of the 90. I caught him with his eyes closed and his head down. But but he found me guilty in 2.5 hours after a 4.5 day trial. Which, by the way, another weird. Nobody can find any evidence of this ever in history. But you had a domestic terrorist trial that took place under 4.5 days, but the first 3 days were separated by, I think it was nearly 2.5 weeks to the last day and a half.
Jeez.
So there's another.
It wasn't 3 consecutive days, you're saying. It was broken up.
Yeah, it was the first 3 days. It was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we had to come back 2.5 weeks later for the day and a half and finish a federal criminal trial for domestic terrorists, brother.
That's crazy. You'd think it would be start to finish. I hear you.
I mean, let's go to the beginning when they served. You presented evidence to a grand jury, which the grand jury transcript is literally one paragraph of some female FBI agent reading the report from the other FBI agents, and they got a grand jury indictment. That was their. I have the, swear to God, the paperwork. They could have put both of the grand jury transcripts on one piece of paper and still had a third of the paper left. So you got a warrant signed on March 10th by a judge at the Middle District of Florida. You wait till the 12th. Wait a minute, he's a domestic terrorist. A danger to his community is what was told by Judge Howell many times in denying me to go home for cancer treatment. You show up at his house at dark 30 on the 12th. He left on the 11th. Domestic terrorists, not even under surveillance. They don't even know that I left on the 11th with a pickup truck full of camping gear with a friend for a 3-day camping trip. Domestic terrorists. I got a warrant. You have a warrant for my arrest that you're going to put on the full show with a Bearcat, flashbang my wife, held her at gunpoint. She had the measles when she opened the door. That was her description, and I understand what she means, and we all do. And yet, I come home 3.5, 4 hours later. I drive all the way back home. I'm 4 hours north in Florida. And when I come in the door, now mind you, I'm on the phone the whole time home. Damn near. I'm hanging up, calling back. I'm trying to get some things done too, as you can imagine.
Right.
It's like 6:30 in the morning, and my wife is sitting there with guns in her face, and she's like, "The FBI needs you. They have a search warrant and arrest warrant." And she was remarkably calm. I'm like, at first it was like, you got to be joking, because she was that calm. So I give her kudos.
Right.
She went through hell through this. They threatened her afterward down the way and all that. But I come home and you bring me in the house as you promised to say goodbye to my wife. And you ask me to open my gun safe because we have the warrant. We're going to bust it open, but we're not here for your guns. But you left. Now, hold on, people, but tighten up your seatbelt. Because you just served a federal search warrant on an arrest warrant on a domestic terrorist. You left his 7 long guns and over 10,000 rounds in the closet of multiple calibers, hunting knives, a level 4 vest, ready to go, all minus a radio, in a bag. And I know they never even took it out of the bag because I'm pretty methodical in how I put my stuff away.
Right on.
But what you did take was Proud Boy t-shirts and some stuff from December 12th when we were up there that weekend. That's your evidence. And my laptop and my phone. Oh, you took my body camera. We got to talk about that.
Right on.
Because there's 7 hours, 26 minutes, and 32 seconds that were vaporized the minute the FBI got their hands on it. Nothing exists, guys. I wore a body camera for show. For show. So I wonder who I had on the body camera. Meanwhile, we know that Nancy Pelosi's daughter's husband was 15 feet to the right of me on the west steps. I don't know his name. I don't give him enough credence to even look up his name. But he was pushing on this police line that I allegedly pepper sprayed from 20-something feet away. We estimated about 25, a little 4-ounce can of pepper gel. Those were my target that he's pushing on, but he doesn't get arrested. It all adds up.
Right.
The munitions that were used against the people, and I have very good videos of these big grapefruit-sized grenades coming through the air. I'm following them with my phone. I still have a lot of it. They left it in my discovery. I can't believe I'm still blown away by the retardism in all this. Like, Look, I think we could have hired a bunch of 12th graders that were getting ready to go to college and put them through a criminal justice class, and they could have done a better job here because you didn't even try to hide the fact that you were really, this whole thing was fake.
Right.
Because here we are 4 years later, and look at what we got in front of us. The whole thing is a setup. It's not a coincidence Steve D'Antuono was made FBI in charge of D.C. after he was in charge of Detroit with the fake Whitmer kidnapping. It's not a coincidence. Meanwhile, there's video of him pulled over, inebriated, drunk, apparently after he just got done beating the shit out of his girlfriend up in Michigan somewhere, but nothing happens to him. No, let's promote you to January 6th investigations. Come on down to D.C., bro. We got a promotion for you.
Right.
But I'm just a freaking conspiracy theorist. What do I know? But we're watching all this. We've seen all this. And the abuse that they put us through. This is what needs attention. I scream out to any congressman, senator, anybody. Why are we not sitting in front of you in hearings right now? Being deposed for the abuse we went through. They tried to kill me in the D.C. jail. They didn't do much better in the BOP. They did nothing for me for 6 months at the Federal Medical Center in Butner. There's nothing medical about it. Look, even Judge Lamberth held the D.C. DOC director and the warden in contempt on October 15th of 21. Quincy Booth and Wanda Patton. And how is it that it was just those two? I don't understand. Because the manipulation, and take it at any angle you want with that word, of my medical records to show lies was exposed, and exposed heavy. Of course, we knew Merrick Garland was going to do nothing about it. So eventually that contempt of court, the judge had to dismiss it because of time. Merrick Garland wasn't going to touch that. But I do think that I don't think the statute of limitations is up on the criminal charges I think we can impose. And I got the doctors' names and many others in that major tally in that jail. These people deserve the cells we sat in. And I mean that with all my heart and soul. And Lord, if I'm committing a sin by saying it, forgive me. They ruined our lives. My family doesn't talk to me. My own kid doesn't talk to me who's 19. My wife has lost most of her family, barely even talk to her. Over lies. I wear this shirt in proudness, and there's still 5 guys left in the damn system. Jeremy Brown's one of them. I got a question for the American people, and I should have this in writing because I think it's this important. So after all we've learned about USAID, my question, and there's multiple questions here, was any of that funding used to punish anywhere in the state of Florida, punish January 6ers, Collier counties, state of Florida? I'll just stay home right now, my state. Was any of that funding used to encourage media, whatever, not to talk about specific January 6ers like Jeremy Brown? He's still being held, and 5 other guys. Magically, they got Daniel Ball out on bond. Some great match from what I hear. The great Ed Martin, acting U.S. attorney, and I hope he gets to hold that title. He's done some great things. But is USAID money, is that the reason why we had the false narrative pushed so hard for 4 years? Who paid for it? Who paid for it? Because you're talking billions of dollars, not millions, and tens of billions would be my number I'd throw out there, if not 100 billion. Easily, just in media. You went after the people of the United States. You weaponized it against American citizens, and then politically persecuted, tortured, and held us hostage. I did 1,492 days inside. I did almost a little over 2 years at home on house arrest. And the whole time, my prosecutor, I'm faking my illnesses, I'm embellishing my illnesses, but I'm in the hospital. Apparently, I broke another federal record in court. I guess my trial date was moved 4 times because me being in the hospital. Apparently, that's a record. I don't know. It's just what I've been told by other lawyers and that. Apparently, I hold that record too. But I was just embellishing and faking it the whole time. I mean, I came home with stage 3 cancer out of DC jail on November 5th. I had to have surgeries, rebuild the deteriorated jaw. This has all been bone grafted and changed. And in 3 separate 1-week stays in the hospital. Found me unconscious multiple times. I mean, there's so many things that were the cause of that. I'm sure anxiety, stress, all kinds of things. But they tried to kill us, man. They tried to kill us. And for 4 years, I did it their way. And now it's my damn turn. And I'm giving it. And I'm demanding. I'm not going to be too quiet here. I'm going to get my seat in front of certain congressmen, mine and some others, and I'm going to give them a short window, because I'm going full blown on this. People are dying. People are dying in these prisons for money. I don't know how to put that into words to make it like nuclear explosions with that.
Right.
But it's crazy. And they chose January 6th. They did us a little special than normal feds. I mean, the feds are dirty. Don't get me wrong. But they took a step above with January 6th. They took the top tier on us in some places. I mean, look, I was in Butner FMC on the cancer floor, the 4th floor, for 1 week as short as 6 months. And they couldn't even get testing, diagnostic done. But on day 4 or 5, I was in there. I got there May 3rd. Mind you, I went on diesel therapy, 12 stops in 7 months. 5 of those stops were to the same 2 places, Tallahassee and Miami. Then finally on May 3rd, the marshals came and got me in Tallahassee and flew me direct. Well, flew me through Atlanta. We ended up at FMC. Day 5, the oncologist tells me my cancer's in remission. I just got there on a Friday. This is like Tuesday. My cancer's in remission. Really. I'm glad you haven't even done so much as a blood test. And it just went downhill from there for 6 months. 1 week short of 6 months.
Jeez.
And they step over bodies, man.
Yeah.
Literally. That's not a figurative statement by any means.
You think they weren't you're saying that they are not providing adequate care for these people and then they're just dying? Or are you saying like they're getting beat to death?
Oh, they're not getting beat to death. I mean, not that I witnessed. I'm sure there's facilities it's happening. I mean, look, you just had 7 guards at the one Dublin, I think it was. They got a bunch of girls pregnant or something. You know, I'm sure you get up into these mediums and these penitentiaries, there's some real vile shit happening.
Yeah.
I guarantee it, because I've seen it at a low, and I've seen how officers are dropping packages off into inmates' cubicles and in the middle of the night, and not small paper bags. Like, this is like 3 days before I left, January 17th, 16th. Like thud when it hits the floor. Oh, when we brought him at 2 something in the morning.
Right.
You know, and so the corruption is from the top to the bottom. They unload food into their own vehicles. There is no medical care. You get yelled at for filing sick calls. You get, and this is all stuff that's happened to me. You get told your health problems are my fault. I mean, I got swollen legs like over the top of my socks, like not flush with the sock, like outside the sock, and it's normal. Everybody has swollen feet. Like, I mean, it's just, I could go ridiculous. I mean, look, the intake in Miami medical records and at Butner, right in the beginning, the examination of the inmate as he came in. My tonsils are present and the condition's normal in my medical records. Now, maybe you got a couple doctors on the views here, but you don't need it. Now I'm going to. Anybody think they might be full of shit that my tonsils are present and normal because they've been missing for 18 years? So unless Jesus Christ was standing down in the medical room with them with my tonsils in his hand and put them back in, I don't think my tonsils are present and normal.
Right on. I get what you're
saying. And I try to make jokes out of this because it's, you couldn't have wrote this novel.
Right.
But I've been running, man. Ask me away. Please pinpoint me. Nail me down. I know you got some good questions.
You're good. Do you want to give like a brief description of like your time there on January 6th? Like what all you experienced? Did you go to the Ellipse and go there, or were you part of the first wave that showed up to the to the Capitol?
Well, sure. I'll give you a quick play-by-play. The girls left for the Ellipse a little before us that morning from the hotel. We were a few blocks away. I can't remember where we stand at the Grand Hyatt, I think. I don't remember. I mean, the boys, we left a little bit behind them, but we went to the hill up by the monument. I was up there probably, 7:30. Freezing. It was cold and windy that morning. I'll never forget that. I was freezing my butt off up there because I only wore a t-shirt, a long sleeve t-shirt, and a t-shirt and a sweatshirt and my Camelback because knowing we're going to be moving.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's going to be cold, but I'm like, okay, I can't be parkered up here because, and I'm wearing a stab vest. I mean, you guys can look up my picture. If you want to show them a screenshot as we're talking about some of this, feel free. Famous pictures of me. I wore stab plates. I made them out of those white cutting boards because look, people were getting stabbed. I wasn't worried about getting shot. So we trolled. Eventually, we got together. I don't know, 150. Ended up started about 100 to 150, and ended up by the time we got to the Capitol, walking through the mall. Ended up probably being about 500 to 600 people just joined in. Jeez. Marched down, prayed at the reflecting pool, walked around up the other side. At that point, I noticed like there was some cop presence, but I don't recall anything even at that hour. Probably 9. Or there's some bike racks across one of those. So if you look at the Capitol, there's 2 sidewalks that go straight up, and then there's the loops.
Right.
As we walked past the 2 that were straight up, which I guess is where Epps and Samsel eventually breached, there was like a cop there and a cop at the other one and a couple bike racks, but the cops were like just hanging out. They didn't even acknowledge us. We just walked by like 200 people. Like, not even. So, and then you walk down to where the arch walks are, there's nothing. So there was nothing there that early that morning. I don't know. I'm going to throw a 10 o'clock time frame out there to show that nothing says don't enter trespassing. Nothing. So whoever was, and we've seen the videos, those that haven't, look for them. There's videos of one guy taking down the green plastic fence at some point. I don't know what time it was. I know it had to have been before I came through it at 10 o'clock ish. Maybe it was 10:30. I don't remember, but it was somewhere in there. I'll pretty much know. So that whole thing about it being closed off and all that is just straight lies. You saw there's plenty. Of course, there's plenty. Yes, there was some bike racks up, especially on the Supreme Court side. That's pretty standard over on that side, though, when an event's happening on that side of the Supreme Court. I've never seen anybody ever show anything about, I've never looked for it either, about the west side or the north side or the south side, any of that being ever fenced off, just up towards the front to the main steps. They want vehicles, we had to pull in, do what they got to do.
Right.
What got up, I was probably in the first 150 people on the west steps, videoed some of that one kid that he made it all the way across and started scrambling up the scaffold and ran out of gas up top. I remember the cops were on top of it. I thought one of them was going to fall off. I remember that. And then, there was a ton of people. And the one thing I find I'll never forget is, I'm going to say the average age of the people on those West State steps was over 40 for sure. Maybe even close to 50.
Right on.
And that kind of blew me away. I'm paying, and I'm like, wow, okay, look, there's a 60-ish, 70-year-old lady, man. Then they started with the munitions. And I've got camera footage. You can't see anything, but you can hear me talking. They played it in my trial. Me helping an old lady, couldn't see, couldn't breathe. She was gassed up. That was over towards the awning door where, ended up being breached later to the left. So then one of those big black grapefruit grenades coming through the air landed on this one old man's shoulder, right on his right shoulder, and blew. I didn't see the side of his face. A friend of mine helped that guy off, and they got him down. But he told me it was not good. I mean, you got the one guy, I don't know, some of this stuff I got questions on still. But then you got the guy with the rubber ball allegedly shot him through his cheek. They beat Roseanne Boylan to death, Lila Morris, and then they brought her and was it 3 total or 4 to the Super Bowl in Tampa and held them up there like they were somebody special. And you just murdered a woman with your hand and your baton. And then they drug her by her foot into the building while their life-saving techniques are being done. I always forget the other gentleman's name. You got Kevin Greason and the other guy. They both died from flashbangs to the chest.
Jeez.
And then you've got Ashley Babbitt, shot by Lieutenant Byrd, I think is his name, for no reason. And then they hide him on Andrews, apparently. I have him on lockdown on Andrews for I don't know how long because they were saying how he was worried for his safety. Well, you just murdered an unarmed woman for nothing. For nothing. So, yeah, you probably should go and hide somewhere. Those are the only 4 deaths. Even up to the morning of the friggin' inauguration. And I'd like to listen to both sides on purpose. And we have 6 TVs in our TV room at the Butner Low. And one's always on CNN, one's always on Fox. So I flip over to CNN, especially in the morning. I flip over to CNN, so I like to hear what the other side's got to say. And even up to that morning, they're talking about how 5 or 6 officers died that day. And not one officer died that day. Not one officer died because of January 6th, except for the guys that suicided. And you got to wonder how many of them were murdered or taken out because they knew too much. I'm pretty shocked that Capitol Police Chief Sund, we never heard about attempt on his life because he had some interesting testimony at Congress. I need to rewatch that.
Right on.
Now, how many agents you have that come out a long time, Special Agent Friend, all them guys that testified to Congress. Now, look at all the whistleblowers that have come out with the FBI. And then the two scumbags, that was hilarious. Trump deserves the troll award. Nobody will ever touch him with the trolling. He pulled the security clearances of the two attorneys representing the FBI agents that want to be anonymous. Brass balls, solid gold balls, solid gold balls. I'll give it to Trump on that. I mean, he is not messing around. I knew he wasn't going to mess around this time, but never in my wildest dreams I imagined he's going to go this hard. And I commend him for it. That man has got his neck on the chopping block more than anybody ever did for this country. In that arena, he don't care. And he's got Pam Bondi in his corner. And Cash, when he kicks the doors into the FBI, I think Friday they have to confirm him now. They put it off for a week. So when he kicks the hinges off the FBI building Friday-ish, shit's going down.
Right.
Shit's going down. And FBI agents better go in handcuffs.
Does it upset you that they didn't release the FBI agents' names, or do you think that's probably not a bad idea?
Oh, I'm ridiculously upset about it, but I do think it's temporary. It's coming. They're not going to stop it. You got a couple rogue judges. Still, we know they're there. Look, Biden packed them in as much as he could. But there's judges above those judges.
Right.
And the law of the land is going to come in. It's just temporary. Did they get a delay? Yeah, you got a timeout, injury timeout for the loonies, because that's all they got. There's judges above them. These district judges in these states, they don't matter. They don't matter. So, do they deserve to be anonymous? Hell damn no. You knew. See, one thing I've always been taught and learned, you take an oath of office. You take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You take that oath. And I don't care what badge you got on. That part of that is in your oath. And that's the only part of the oath that should matter. I mean, the other parts deserve to matter too, but that's your rockets regular part of your oath right there. And seeing there's a rule to go throughout the military and many other alphabet agencies. They all have the same rule, or supposed to, but it's been forgotten about. And that rule is this. See, you can give me an order to go do my job. But when your order is treasonous, unconstitutional, immoral, throw a few more words out there. It is your duty to not follow those orders and to go somewhere where you go above your boss. And if that boss ain't good enough, then you go above that boss. But there is no honoring of their oaths at any level, judges, prosecutors, you name it. It's let's tell lies, let's win this game and win at all costs. And they did for 4 years. I hope you had fun, guys. Strap in. Tighten up the belts. Because it ain't going to be fun. And I've seen it with Donald J. Trump, Master Commander-in-Chief. Nobody will ever touch this man. Not in any country on this earth will ever have a president like this man. That man came back into this White House, and damn, is it even how many days has it been? I don't even know. It's not even the full 3 weeks yet, is it? Maybe just 3.
Maybe 3.
Yeah, and He's done more than Biden did in 4 years.
Yeah.
He's done more than Biden. He's done more maybe at this point than he did in his 4 years as president as number 45. And I'd like to see some stats on that right now. The 3-week mark on what Trump's done versus what he did from 20 to 24. Or, I'm sorry, 16 to 20. God's in this, guys. I don't know where any of your faith is at, but that man is protected by the Lord above. I believe it. He got off that. He got shot and missed the back of his head by the grace of God. There's no such thing as coincidence. He asked for a graph to put up that he normally plays at the end of his speeches. He played it then. And if it wasn't for him looking to the right, it would have lost the back of his head. And then that man stood up with, go look at his face. He was pissed. Pissed.
Yeah.
And just, you done messed up. You messed up at that point. You done woke up the bear now. He's coming. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. And I find that story a little bit coincidental. A lot of coincidences in that story, how that kid was in a BlackRock commercial.
Yeah, that's weird.
But yet he's only, what they say, he was only 21 the day he shot at Trump, right?
I think so.
But he was in a BlackRock commercial, I think in 17 or 18. So that would mean he was like 13 in the BlackRock commercial. And from what I saw, the blip of the commercial, it ain't no 13 or 15-year-old kid. So what's up with that?
Right.
And then they connected the guy in Florida that was a complete retard that I don't even know what they were trying to do there, except intentionally get caught, is my impression. But he was connected to that kid somehow too. And something about recruiting Syrian soldiers or something. I forget the whole. Yeah, I was getting all this info while I was in prison. That was great. The SIS must have had a great time in the BOP reading January 6th emails in and out, because it's the only way they had to review every one of them.
Right on.
Or at least click on every one and send it in and out.
Right.
So they must have been really bored most of the time, but I'm sure some of these newsletters I was getting with some really good info on them must have been entertaining for them for at least a little while.
Right.
So much to tell in this, man, and we need Congress to act.
Right.
That's my mission right now. God didn't put me through what he put me through to witness what I witnessed, to not do something about it. That's my thought on it. It's insane.
Do you have any big plans or anything planned right now that you're planning to do to work towards that goal?
Talking any place and anywhere I can. Podcasts like you, anywhere. I need to get this out. I need it to go public. I'm not the only one talking either. I've seen some others, but this is my mission. God, I need to serve my Lord. He saved my life. There's no question. Between my Lord and my president and my wife and many people across this country, God, the support we had, even right now, private jets and pilots donated to move guys across the country when we're getting out of prison. Hotels, you name it, anything you needed. I owe everybody in this country thank you. Thank you's not enough. For anybody that done what they did in this. I don't care if you took 5 minutes out of your day one time and you decide to help at January 6th or somewhere. It all mattered. The prayers, the letters, the emails. It really helped. It saved our lives because they were trying to kill us. For those of us in places like I was with medical needs and that, I can't put it into words. But I thank everybody. Jeez. It's really weird being out. It's only been, like we were just saying, what has it been? 3 weeks. 3 weeks as president, 3 weeks as a free man. I'm with them on almost the same hour. And it feels like it's been months. I don't know about other guys. I'm sure there's guys going through it. The PTSD is real. Sometimes there's no trigger, nothing. It's been hell.
Did you feel pretty hopeless in there in prison before the pardon? I mean, you were going to have sat there for 10 years, right?
Yeah. Until the election happened. Yeah, it was a lot of hopeless. I tried to keep busy. I had 2 jobs with the FMC. I tried to just keep busy. It was unfortunate. There was no real Bible study group over there. The guys that were doing it, wasn't the right setting for me. I prayed every morning, every night, many times a day. Jeez, my relationship with God in the last 4 years is bigger than my first 49 years. So, if that tells you anything, a lot of hopeless, a lot of anxiety, a lot of things. Yeah.
Do you worry that suicide may become a big thing for people?
I'm very much worried about all my brothers. Look, I'd be a liar to sit here and tell you I didn't consider it. Now, what they said happened here at the house the day that they got me, I think it was September 23rd. After my 45 days on the run, in fear for my life, guys, we'll talk about that. Please ask away. Yeah. Bring me back to this.
Right on.
But, yeah, look, we're out. We're free. We can't get jobs. Banks we're still on the don't touch list with a lot of banks. What do we do? And I decided many, many months ago, long time ago, I prayed a lot about it. God, give me, how do you want me to serve you? I know you're about to save my life. I knew it. I knew that night when Trump landslided the election that I was telling everybody for weeks it was going to happen. I was pissing people off in the jail. I didn't care.
Right on.
That's my man. I'll ride or die. Yeah, I even had idiots coming up to me and I said, so my comeback on a lot of them was, well, make sure you leave that First Step Act alone. Make sure you sign that waiver. You don't, no Trump, no First Step Act.
Right.
Stand on your morals and have honor and integrity. Don't go home early on that. And one guy even was stupid enough to tell me Obama did that. Okay, whatever. I got no time for it. But I got under people's skin. But I told everybody, it's going to be a landslide.
Yeah. It's
too big to rig this time. And not for nothing, I'll throw a number out there. The Democrats' choice of how they dealt with this election, we'll call it an election because you just handed it over. You might as well just do it in the white towel.
Right.
You gave 30%. I mean, thanks. Thanks for the 30% because that's just a number I got. I don't know. Maybe I'm off on that.
Right.
But landslide. And I knew from that moment January 20th was going to go down. And I told everybody that too. At the FMC, I got a friend of mine, good friend of mine, Rolex. We became buddies at the FMC. Rolex is a good dude. And I told everybody, and everybody was always, you're not leaving on the first day. There's no way it's not happening. The feds don't work like that. The whole night. I'm like, dude, you don't even know. Do you understand? Do you understand who Donald John Trump is?
Right.
Because apparently you don't. Because what that man says, he does. And he doesn't, no, we'll just do it tomorrow. No. Tonight. He said it. I would hope they're going to get him out of there tonight. And everybody took his word as, this very, he hopes. But that was a very cautionary message. And here's a good timeline for you people. So, of course, I'm in constant contact. My wife came up. It was in North Carolina. And many others. Geez, again, that helped. Guys there to drive people all over the place. January 6th, guys. One family from Virginia, one family from South Carolina. January 6th, guys, there with my wife, hanging out, ready to drive guys anywhere they got to go. I lost train of thought there. I forgot where I was going with that, man. I was going somewhere good with it. What was I talking about before I?
We went to Rolex. You met Rolex.
Oh, so I'm telling my buddy Rolex and everybody around us. I says, we'll be out. It's happening. So now they moved me over to the low after they kicked me out of the FMC. We'll get into that at a different time. And I'm telling everybody the same thing over there. I said, now I got 3 other guys with me that are January 6th guys. And all of them had just really entered this realm and that. So, and I'm telling these guys and everybody else that wanted to listen, I didn't care. If you didn't want to listen or not, I'm going to tell you, we are leaving on January 20th. Leaving this facility. I was telling officers, guys, the rec officers, guys I knew, there was some, you could talk to them. Some of them I did it just to poke.
Right.
What are you going to do to me at this point? And they think I'm, the guy's telling me, you don't understand. You're going home, but you're not leaving tonight. It just don't work like that. I said, rock on, bro. I won't see you tomorrow morning, I bet. So they finally got us out at 10 minutes to 4 in the morning at the Butner Low. Called us down to the lieutenant's office at 10:30 and said, look. Oh, the funny part is, so my wife shows up at the low at 6:30-ish. And she goes in and she's talking to an officer. She didn't write down the name or nothing. And they're like, well, yeah, we know. But they're not leaving till tomorrow. We don't have the staff. Yeah, so that was a couple phone calls. Because now, you're limited to 30 minutes in one day, but you're also limited to 300 in a month, which is one 10-minute call a day on a 30-day month. So I'm literally making these 1-2 minute calls to my wife every hour or so. Hey, okay. Yeah, this is what they told me at the front desk. So I'm like, I hope you listen, babe, there's calls being made. Marshals, Donald John Trump knew about this. I mean, I'm going to call it and say it. DJT knew prisons we're stalling. So next thing you know, count is at 9 o'clock. On the low, that's it. You're now on your pod. You got the TV room till 11:30, laundry, whatever, computers. But you're not leaving the building. 10:30, the 4 of us are called to the lieutenant's office. And the lieutenants are like, listen, guys, we called in staff, we called in unit team, and that we're going to get you guys out of here. We'll have you out of here by the 3 a.m. count. So there's a midnight after the 12, after the 9, and then a 3, and then a 5 a.m. I'm like, all right, 3 a.m. count, great. Well, let me go get my stuff together. I already had it mostly together anyway.
Right.
Changed. I'm ready to go. Gave away my stuff. And 3 o'clock count comes. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Can't call the wife now because phones are off after 11:30. So I'm literally running blind. I know that they're there somewhere, if not up the road at the hotel. Great. 10 minutes, 20 to 4, after the count cleared, they came, got us, walked out. 10 minutes to 4 in the morning. So what they thought they were going to play, they didn't play. I'm going to go out there without any real knowledge of it and say, look, that whole situation was being monitored by all of Donald Trump's lawyers and himself
right
throughout the night. Even though on TV he didn't sign up to 8:30, whatever, I won't say any more about that because they had knowledge. They had knowledge of it at 6:30 because they wouldn't have said what they said to my wife in person. And then they wouldn't let you on the property, so they had to park down the end of the road in this gravel parking lot off the property. It's a huge facility. Coleman's the biggest prison in the country in Florida here, but Butler's got to be right behind it because it's humongous. It's miles.
Jeez.
And then you got a state prison next door, and then a juvenile prison too. So this whole area is just jails from what I get.
Man. You mentioned that you want to get your story out there. How many times since January 6th happened has like mainstream media ever contacted you to get your side of the story?
Oh, they never contacted me to get my side of the story. Now, and what's funny is, so when the wife picked me up, look, my fun grounds are in the north or in the south, and the Great Smokies and the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yeah,
that's my fun area. Know it well. So I'm only 5 hours to the east of that in Butner. So these guys had private jets and had to get them home. I told the wife from the beginning, I says, land, rent a car, we're driving home. Noticed on our Ring camera, media was kind of hanging out for a couple of days, up to the door knocking. This one guy, I think he was NBC2 here. So I said, look, she was supposed to be back to work on Thursday and do payroll and stuff. But I'm like, look, you call who you got to call. You're not going until next Monday. It's like, we're not going home to the bee's nest.
Right.
So it worked. We got home Friday night, pulled in about 10 o'clock. I haven't seen one media. It's funny how the media's ignored me now. But they don't want to hear from me anyway, because my statement to them is going to be somewhere along the lines, well, you had 4 years to tell the truth. You decided to slander and ruin people's lives. You don't deserve to get any of the truth now. Don't come back.
Right.
And I will, if I have an encounter, I will film it myself because they're going to try to twist it. And I'll let them know right then, I'm filming this too. So please put it out. Put out my statement.
Yeah.
Put this out. You have my permission. Play it 6 o'clock live. Because I have a version too.
Right.
It's like they played me. Dave Sumrall, man, solid brother in this. The first night of the January 6th crooked committee, they played me in like the first 13 minutes as I'm walking past the carport. And I had the full video on my phone. I would have had it on my phone and my body cam, but
right.
The feds deleted the body cam. Apparently it wasn't worth viewing. I don't know. But we played that. Dave too quickly took my whole length video and put it with theirs and said, look at what the man said, but here's what they said he said. Of course, they played it from Don't Make Us Go Against You, These Are Our Streets, when they left out the whole problem of honor your oaths, on your knees, honor your oaths, we are on your side. No, he didn't say any of that. And then, the whole thing that I pepper sprayed cops with the Antifa guy right underneath my right arm. And guys throwing fence rods up. They took apart this black fence. We're throwing these rods up. And we even played a video for him in court of a black rod clanging on the ground right at. No, that wasn't a black. You could barely see it on my phone video.
Right.
Because I'm filming over my head. And I'm following it. And the guy's up on the second tier, and then that got me pissed off because these guys whacked a couple guys. Well, here comes the munitions, the tear gas cans, the flashbang grenades. I was pissed. One popped right in front of me while I'm helping the old lady. Pardon the reference, but I took like a 6-foot bong hit of tear gas can as I knelt down to one knee, and it popped right in front of my face.
Jeez.
And I'm trying to hold on to this old lady that she's like, I can't see. And I'm trying to hold her. She's like 60. And I get blasted with the tear gas. I get black grenades dropping all over the place. And then what pissed me off, and I'm on video, they played it in court. I said it. I did it. I was pissed. I was in the moment. And I told the officers on that second tier on the west step, there was a top tier, and a guy came out with an M4. So now you're out there with lethal. And I was pissed. And I said, fuck you. I said, put it on my own video, my own camera, my phone. I won't deny it. Because now you're out there with lethal. And there ain't a weapon in the crowd except a flagpole. Maybe somebody's got a pocket knife. I don't know.
No, I get it.
Nobody was found on that property with a weapon, except the one guy. What was he? You might be able to remember this guy with his jacket open. He's got his badge and his gun. Was he FBI or somebody?
I don't really remember, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think those are the only guns that were ever found in D.C. Of course, the Oath Keepers stashed this massive. They had a battalion's worth of weapons stashed in the hotel. And if you don't know what a battalion is, look it up. It's a lot.
Right.
I don't even know the number, but it's a lot. And, they tried to propagate that nonsense. But we had an insurrection with no weapons.
Right.
I'm a domestic terrorist. I don't even know that I barely even harmed anybody over my lifetime. Let alone carried a gun legally in 3 states, been licensed, travel the country, check my weapon at airports. I've never shot nobody. I'm a horrible terrorist. I'm like Ahmed, the dead terrorist. I'm bad. I guess Ahmed just got a whole crew of retarded terrorists. That's it. That's what we're going to start. The Ahmed terrorist retard crew. We just got we got buses loads now. Because we all suck. Luckily, we haven't blown ourselves up yet like Ahmed did.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know that any of us have it. Well, let me not go there.
Yeah, I hear you. I get it.
I don't know. I try to make some jokes about this, ladies and gentlemen, right? But I'm really serious. Lives are taken. Look, we have 10 suicides from January 6th. What I heard from somebody today, a very, very close, good person in this January 6th fight. Look, I talk about David Summerall, Trent Evans, great brothers, solid brothers. And we're not done. And I'm not done. I'm not going to rest until something's done with our prison and jail system. And I have a quote that I use. There's no man, woman, or child should have to fear for their life going into custody of a jail or a prison in this country regardless of their crimes. And we can have a debate about that. I think some people shouldn't even make it to jail. But that's a discussion for another time. But I mean, I'm just reading through this note. It's funny, because this is the note I left. This is the note I left my wife. She didn't know I was leaving August 10th. She didn't know. And I freaked out.
Do you want to talk about the next? You're talking about August 10th is when you went on the 45 days, right? The FBI manhunt, and you want to discuss?
I was armed and dangerous on my thing, man. I'm armed and dangerous.
Yeah, right.
It was. I don't know how to describe it. It was. I was in genuine fear of my life. I mean, that's real. I think I kicked my camera here. They nearly killed me in D.C. And when I woke up, the trigger that morning was I woke up and the prosecution had filed their sentence recommendation of 14 years. It was the minimum. And look, they came after me and anybody else that was in this boat, they came at us harder. I pretty much told them, you can take anything. If it means, a plea means I have to admit guilt, don't even come at me with it. I'm not talking either. I got nothing to say. And they came hard. They did. Look, they had the whole advantage. But what they need to understand and feel, you didn't just come after me. You didn't just take my family away from me and my son. You didn't just hold my wife at gunpoint and flashbang the house. Outside, I'll make that clear. They didn't throw one in the house. You tried to take my life. And there's an umbrella of people that were complicit in it. And whether one knew what was going to happen in the other place doesn't matter to me. You tried to take my life. It's my turn. And I'm pissed. And I'm upset. My wife still suffers PTSD moments. She was threatened by the FBI multiple times. I'm coming. And all you know who you were involved in my case. And in case it's on paper. Alex Grandy, JTTF agent, Collier County Sheriff's Department for 20 years, JTTF FBI. Imagine his email doesn't work. I already tried to email him. Right. So I don't know, did he quit or did he lose his job? I don't know. I might not find out.
Right.
But I want his badge. He followed orders. One of many. That violated the Constitution. He did not defend against the unconstitutionality of what happened to me. And I don't want to hear your apology now. I don't care. So if you hear this, Alex Grandy, no. I'm coming for you in the most legal way I can. Legal. If you got real honor and integrity, you'll come to me. And you'll sit beside me and tell the truth. But I don't think you do. None of them do. Very few do. The ones that did already did.
Right.
I'm pissed. I'm pissed. And then when I find out they're killing people in prisons and mistreating people, like it doesn't even doesn't matter to nobody in these places, man. The immorality and inhumanity, intentional. I think we all know this world is an evil place. Until you've seen that walking over bodies, guys laying in the floor needing medical help, and they just walk right past you. They already got something they're doing. That's the attitude. I'm already doing something else. The system's designed to break you, and it did a good job of it. And I give credit to my Lord and Savior for the last few months. December, January. Man, I can't tell you. I know guys are still out there. I've seen some messages today in places, Telegram and that, and guys are still worried that the other shoe's going to drop. I try to comfort them, sure, man. No, there's no way. In my opinion, there's no way.
Right.
We now have the same government that stood in front of us with rifles aimed at us, just going to kill us, wants us dead, legitimately wants us dead, to now that same Department of Justice and FBI and the executive branch, the Department of Defense including, because they were complicit in January 6th too, General Milley. We now have them walking with us. I believe it in my heart. I know we were talking earlier. I don't know if we put it on here on the recording, but I'll say, listen to what Donald Trump said on Air Force One last night. He was put on the spot again by some female reporter. You're going to see the families of victims that died on New Year's, but you pardoned January 6ers that assaulted officers. And the man said with conviction, those officers assaulted them. And well, that is, look, did some people do some dumb shit in dumb places? Yeah. Sure. Mob mentality. That's the term I've heard used for the last 4 years. I get it. Did any of us deserve anything that we went through for that dumb shit of whatever it was that happened there? Not when it's a setup. Not when it's a Fed setup and we have the evidence. We have the evidence. And it's coming. Look, Pam Bondi, it was great watching their interviews as they sat before Congress. She made it clear. Kash Patel made it clear. January 6th is a top priority. It needs to be. There needs to be justice. And I don't know if you're going to ask me what is my idea of justice. I don't know. I can't give it all to you. I didn't do any of this from the start for any kind of notoriety or pat on the back or nothing. And I've had people tell me, "Oh, you guys are heroes." And I'll speak for myself. I think I'm speaking for many when I say none of us are heroes. We all do things at different times and different places. Because it's God's plan. So you can't mess with that. I'm no more special than you right now. Look at what you're doing. You're taking your time out of your life. You just came home from work, I'm assuming, based on our conversation.
Yep.
And I don't know if you have a family or not, but you're taking your personal time now. And geez, I see we've been on for an hour and 10 minutes recording, and we were talking for 15 to 20 before that. That's just as honorable. You've decided to take up a torch to expose and hear from people and hear truths and get it out there. So I'm no more of a hero than anybody else. Who's my hero? I'll tell you who's my hero. My hero is my fellow POW that lives here in Naples, Captain Wayne Smith. 1882 day Vietnam POW, and that man did the whole tour. He was my mentor. He really, knowing what he went through for 1882, I was 1492 inside. I got nothing to complain about compared to what that man went through in Vietnam. Of course, they did much further, bigger, much more torture on those guys. But
right. You posted him on X just last night, right? Or was it
from a few nights ago? It was Friday night, I think it was.
Right.
I was at an event local here, Legends concert series. They do it once a month, and he was there. And I've done some work on their house. Great guy.
Right on.
Great guy. The man is, I've never seen a man not smile. And he was one of the people I thought about all the time.
Yeah.
While I'm sitting in the cell 23 hours a day, a lot of times. We went through hell in the beginning of this. I mean, lockdowns just all the time. It's just ridiculous. With intention. I mean, they were trying to break us.
Yeah. You have any message of hope for like the 5 or 6 guys that are still out there facing charges, maybe having to turn themselves in? I know Elias has to turn himself in tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not understanding that whole thing. I was just talking to somebody about that. Actually, I think it was Trennis. And I'm still trying to grasp this whole thing. What do you mean somebody has to turn himself in? For January 6th.
Elias has charges that stem from his initial J6 charges. He has charges that I think his Jan 6 charges were dropped, but when they raided his house, they found some stuff, and then they were charging him with that.
It's all fruit of a poison tree.
Right.
Therefore,
that's what he was saying too.
None of it exists. Jeremy Brown, I mean, luckily they got Daniel Ball. I know of Jeremy because he lives here in Florida with me, and I can't think of the other guys' names at the moment, but it's absurd. And what's my message to you 5 guys? We're coming for you. We're coming for you. You're coming home. A lot of us have been making phone calls and talking to congressmen. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't understand why it's taking so long now. We're coming for you guys. No Jan 6 are left behind. None of us.
Right.
We will not leave you behind. I don't know about others. I think you guys all the time. I think all of us all the time. All of us involved in this. I lose sleep over it still. I get pissed off. I go through these emotions series of. I get raging, pissed off. I get moments of PTSD. Go through that. I mean, I know I'm not the only one.
Right.
And I'm pissed. And we deserve something to make it right. I don't know what that something is. You can't fix it. You're never going to make it whole again. My aunt, my uncles, my father, my cousins, my son, they don't talk to me. They didn't want to hear the truth. I don't know.
No, I get it. It's easy to say that's a hard thing to go through, but you don't really know the struggle until you have to go through it yourself.
Well, pardon me for not being able to quote the chapter and verse and that, but there's a couple spots in the Bible that tells us we'll go against families will be wiped out. I mean, there's biblical stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I try to keep that in the beginning of my thoughts, and this is God's work. And we shouldn't resist the Lord ever. Plenty of times we do in our lives, of course, and He expects us to sin. But I have no more fight left in me except for the lives that need to be saved in this. I don't care about politics anymore. I do care about my country. So there is some politics in that, of course. But am I ever going to go to a protest again? No. Am I ever going to? I mean, look, they start coming down my street, different story. We get a different result for that. But I'm not going to it anymore. My country shit on me in the worst possible ways, many ways they could have. And not just me, over 1,600 of us. Not to mention, that's just January 6th.
Right.
Let's get into all these Christians that were praying at abortion clinics, moms and dads at PTA meetings or whatever, school board meetings. I don't know. Trump's doing a good job of trying to flip it upside down. Now I got to give him the man.
Right.
Balls of gold. The man is a true. I wrote a letter and sent it in that I'm pretty sure he received not long ago. And I praised him for doing one thing. He's the first and only, and I know Donald Trump's not a politician, but for the description is as the top political leader of this world for the second time, he's the only one that never left his base behind. He did every single thing he campaigned on both times, and that many times over, more. This world will never see another president of any country or leader of any country like him.
Right.
I know he's planning on what he's going to do, and you know, who's he going to turn it over to? He's never going to even get a 50% of what he's doing.
If you could go back in time, Chris, would you do it again? In terms of going to January 6th?
Because we know where we are now with it.
Right.
I mean, yeah. Would I do some different things that day? And after I did a crappy job because I didn't think. Look, I think you're going to find better than 80% of us, maybe 90% of us are all going to tell you if we're asked. Maybe not quite that many, but did you think the feds were going to come knocking on my door January 16th and talk to me at my house?
Right.
No. Did I think they'd be getting a warrant signed for my arrest on March 10th of 21? No. But hindsight's 2020. Would I do it again? Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. If a man like Donald J. Trump called me to do it again, yeah. Could George Bush or anybody have got? No.
Right on.
And it's easy to see. Even Ronald Reagan, who has been the comparative president to Donald Trump, I guess seems to be he's a second place to Donald Trump for sure. Distant second, I think, but he's there. He's holding second. He couldn't have got this done. I really would love to see the movie of what would have happened had he lost the election on November 5th. Part of me wants to see that.
I hear you.
There's a large part of me that was afraid. Look, I testified multiple times inside the jail to many guys. I'm scared to death if this election, because here's my question. Look, there's no question he's going to win this election. He won it in 20. There's no question. He killed his 16 numbers. He killed both of those two numbers together combined. This election. There was no question he was going to win the election. The question was, what were they prepared to do?
Right.
And when I put that question into context, I was afraid. I'm in prison.
Yeah.
My wife is outside. That would have meant this country would have been at a real revolution, I believe. But it would have been it would have been a third world style revolution. I mean, you'd have seen the gangs and that would have went nuts in these cities. First and foremost, because there would have been no rule of law. And then it would have been bad. It would have been bad. And what was the military going to come in and do? Take over cities? Sure. Are they going to come into Miami, New York? Yeah. But what are you going to do about the country? Because when the people figure out that they can't go wreak havoc in the city, they're going to start branching out in the country.
Right.
Well, I can tell you what would have happened in the country, especially some certain parts of the country that I happen to know. There's going to be a lot of fresh soil turned over. And, Prime Minister of Japan said it best. I don't remember what year it was, but he was asked, why didn't you attack the mainland of America? Because there's a gun behind every blade of grass. And it's the one thing that the United States has over every other country in the world. Well, I shouldn't say every other country, because some of these countries, these kids are born with AKs in their hand.
Yeah.
Take those out of it. You're
Right.
talking your average regular country. If the United States ever came under attack, I don't know. Look, it's funny how Hollywood, the old Hollywood, because that Hollywood's dead now, has put out many movies over the years, and they have a bad habit of end up being right somewhere. And I'm not a believer in coincidence, but you look at movies like, I guess this is a little off to the left or far right, depending on who you talk to.
Right.
But you look at things that Hollywood done like Red Dawn, and they remade it twice. And it was appropriate for what was going on in the world. And the second one is North Korea and China, and we're right there. Damn, if Harris were gone and we were there. Red Dawn was happening. I want to know about whatever happened with, there was a hard rumor and alleged video evidence that went around on January 6th of there were Chinese troops training with Canadian troops on the northern border above New York and etc. And I want to know whatever happened with that conversation and where that went. And allegedly there was some proof that they were on the southern border too.
Yeah.
So if that's true, that just leads into the whole conspiracy theory that, they didn't know January 6th was going to happen, but yet you devoted money to the DC area and jails in December CARES Act for preparation for January 6th, but you didn't know it was going to happen. You installed new gas mask type devices throughout under Congress seats that these people didn't even know were there because they were that new.
Right.
But you didn't know January 6th was going to happen. You had busloads of Antifa escorted in by Virginia State Police with videos of them changing clothes in bushes. But you didn't know January 6th was going to happen. You had your Pelosi and his daughter's film crew in the Capitol that was off limits to the public. But you didn't know January 6th was going to happen. And then you dive into the interview, and I have the transcript was sent to me in jail, and it's great. Clay Higgins with Tucker Carlson on the anniversary. And I find the two parts very interesting, how he says, very matter-of-factly, conservatively, we know 200 plus feds, Capitol Police, Metro Police, CHSs, and others were involved that day. Tucker did ask him a very inquisitive question. And he said, we've heard the rumor that the Department of Defense was involved, the Pentagon. And I believe Clay, and I have to watch this again in video because the body language is speaks louder than the words.
Right.
But his answer was pretty much, I'm not saying that they weren't, and I'm not saying they were, but we're looking into it. And now you have General Milley, who got his pardon. Let's see, one thing that's not pardonable is treason. And I know they have the proof. They've had it for a long time. We, the people, need to see it. Especially those of us that suffered at this. And justice needs to be served. I'm not resting. I'm not resting.
If you were to look back in like 20 years on your story, what message do you hope your story shares to the world, if you will?
Get on your knees. Trust in your Lord and Savior for one. Took me 49 years. God-fearing man my whole life. Born and raised a Roman Catholic. But never had a relationship with him. And it took this tragedy for that to happen. And for that, I'm thankful. At least I have it now. So that's my first message. And the second is, if you take up an oath and decide you're going to run for an office and run an office for we the people, be your people's voice, not your own. Bring back the constitutional republic. We're one nation under God. But we haven't had God in this nation in a long time. And I believe he's been brought back with heavier weight than throughout my entire life. And I'm going to be 54 this June. And if we went through this for the last 4 years to come out a better country with God's laws in the forefront, this country was founded on, then I'm okay. Because my losses were worth it. If we can come back and bring the Constitution back to the front line, roll with it.
Right on.
Then the price was worth it. My price. I don't think the deaths were worth it. It's sad that it always takes death and ugliness to get change. And those that sacrificed their lives for it. All gave some gave all.
Right.
They deserve to be held in honor. So in 20 years, look, this is going to be major history in our schools in 20 years.
Yeah.
In the world schools. Because this is the only country this has never happened in for 200 and almost 50 years.
Right.
I can't wait for the 250-year celebration with Donald Trump. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
It's going to be. They'll be talking about it for generations to come.
You going to be there for that?
You're damn right.
Right on.
Just tell me where it is, and I'll be there.
I hear you.
I don't care. And I know I'm going to get a chance to shake that man's hand. Man, that man deserves. We the people need to come up with a medal and present it to Donald Trump. Because not a damn one of us, we all owe him. That man sacrificed his family and damn near his life. He stood the line. And there's been a few great generals, MacArthur, Patton, that led from the front. This man has led from the front and stood the line. And he said it. They're not coming after me. They're coming after you. And I'm in their way. And he stood in the way. There's nothing more you need to say about that.
Right.
Donald Trump's going to hand out medals. We need to have a medal ceremony for him. And I don't know what you can give that man. I don't know that we can come up with anything that's worthy. Other than from what's coming from our hearts and the meaning of it. Go play the whole city for him?
Right.
What are you going to do for Donald Trump? I look forward to the next 6 months.
Yeah, right on.
And the year. I think it's going to be rockets red glare.
Yeah. I'd like to see that income tax go away.
Oh, I think he's going to do a lot with a lot of things. Look, he knows they tried to take out the United States of America. I have a hard time figuring out what the motive is for that, of what these leftist Democrats. I understand the AOCs and the other Muslim woman, I don't know her name. I don't give any credence to these people.
I know who you're talking about.
But what I don't understand is the red-blooded born generations of Americans like the Joe Bidens and the Pelosi's and the Schumers. You're selling out your country to the enemy. Please explain. Please, because I don't get it. You're cutting your own throat or the throats of your own children, grandchildren, whatever. Please, somebody put that into perspective for me because I can't, and I've thought about it a lot. How? How do you do it? For what purpose?
Right.
What's your gain out of it? Are you getting temporary monetary money? Okay, yeah, we've already disclosed all that. That's already just got shut down. Thank you, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and whoever else is helping. We knew this has been going on for 100 years. I just don't get it.
I think it's that temporary control. They get to be elite status for a while. There's probably a few things, but
that's why we need to show them how elite they are. Because see, when you're at the top and you commit what you committed against the people of the United States of America, you deserve to be treated appropriately for your sins and your inhumaneness and your blatant and intentional mistreatment of your American people you're supposed to defend.
Right.
Because of the seat we put you in, we elected you, and I wish people would stop using elected officials as a term. They're elected representatives, and they were elected to represent you and me and our voice, not their agendas, not for their money-making schemes, these lobbyists. It's all going away. I'm laughing. I'm laughing all the way to the hill right now. And I can't wait to go back and walk through I've never been inside the Capitol. I can't wait to walk through those halls. And I will walk proud. I'll walk tall. And I'm going to tell this story. And I'm demanding action. For any of you out there that know, get this to Congress at all levels. I'm making a thing about it. I have to. That is what I feel the Lord is putting on my heart and soul. That's my mission. They chose me.
How much of a slap in your face was it to hear about the preemptive J6 pardon for the committee?
Well, I knew it was coming. Didn't expect any less, so I didn't take it as a slap in the face. I expected more than what came.
Right on.
But see, this is what they didn't think through this too much. So now that you have a pardon, you no longer can invoke the fifth when you're subpoenaed and you're asked all these questions in front of Congress. And I do believe, at least right now, until I see some signs otherwise, that these hearings are going to take place. But I hope they have them in a manner where it's the old school ways. And I hope the Sergeant at Arms is present in Congress when these take place. And I hope the minute that one of these scumbags decides to lie to Congress, and it's going to happen, and give them a pass on the little BS lies that we know they're going to have a bunch of them. Look, they're going to lie their asses off. I don't think they're smart enough not to. 100% of the way anyway.
Right.
But when they lie to you and they perjure themselves in front of Congress, it's going to happen. instant handguns. We can't play no more. We played for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. And all these crimes happen and nobody gets anything but a slap on the hand. I will fine them a couple $100 million. They just get their lobbyists paid for it. Doesn't cost anybody anything. There's no penalties. And if I could give one piece of advice to Donald Trump and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, it is well within your power. Uphold the Constitution. It's time for real justice in this country. To me, it's that simple. Don't overcomplicate it with the rest of the gravy. You commit treason, and you got away with it. But now, when you sit in front of Congress and you're deposed under oath, you lie with the intention of hiding something, because that's the only reason for the lie.
Right.
There's jail cells in the bottom of the Capitol. We know a bunch of guys that have been in them. No mercy. They didn't have any.
Right.
Why should we give mercy? I know the Lord wants us to forgive. But you know what? Even Jesus flipped the tables. And he is supposed to be the only judge. But I believe it's written, I don't know how many places. The man is supposed to take care of themselves too. That we're supposed to rule over ourselves. And look, God gave us 10 commandments, but we really only need one that has two parts to it. And part one is to love him with all your heart and soul and declare him your Lord and Savior. And number two is love your neighbors like you love yourself. Your neighbor isn't just a guy that lives next door. It's anybody in your community or in your travels you come across. And if we can start instituting that over our egos, over our agendas, over politics, what happened to love? God's simple law. And that's why we haven't been one nation under God in decades. But it's coming back. Trump's bringing it back. Kim Clement prophesied so well about that man without naming him in 2015, before he even came down the escalator. I believe he was chosen. And boy, God has chosen some interesting disciples throughout the 2025 years of his passing, and even when he was walking the earth. And I'm humbled that he chose me to take on this fight that I'm taking on. But I'm coming at it. Metaphorically, guns a-blazing.
Yeah, right on.
I had to say that now because
right on. You should do the air quotes thing when you say it. Right on. Nice.
I got the Trumpinator with me.
I like that. Where'd you get that at?
Oh, you can find them.
Oh, right on. I'll look.
You can find them. And I have sitting at the base of his feet one of the biggest truths that's coming out in this country.
Right on.
The old Kennedy. It doesn't fit. Your camera's a little narrow to fit
right
my
on.
man in. I'll bring him over. That's my man right there.
Right on. I'll have to check into that. I haven't seen that before.
Oh, I've got a couple of them.
Right on. If you don't mind me asking, how are you doing on your sickness? Are you over that?
I need
still...
I need some help there, and I need it from multiple places. I'm in a discovery phase that's going to cost me thousands of dollars just in testing and that, and I don't have it. So I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now. I'm waiting on some notifications regarding some insurance, but it's not looking too great. I don't know. I trust in him. My Lord's got me. He brought me this far. I'm leaving it in his hands. I'm doing what I can do as I can do. I talk to people and I've connected with some. It's gonna be all right. But it's unknown right now. To answer your question, I have no idea.
I got you.
If you can, people want to help, givesandgo.com/for Patriot support. I do need help. I can't lie. There's my Gifts and Go.
We'll put that in the description too.
I need help from medical. I need help to fight this injustice. It's not cheap to fight the government, although it just got made a lot easier.
Right.
I need help, folks. I do. And I don't know what else to ask for, guys. I feel embarrassed. I feel humiliated that I have to ask we the people for help. But there's a bunch of January 6ers need help, people. Find them. Many of us have Gifts and Goes. There's groups out there, stophate.com, Condemned USA, Trennis Evans. Reach out, find these people. They'll direct you. So many places.
Right on. Is there anything that you feel that's important that you want to get out there that I didn't ask you about or maybe forgot to ask you about?
Oh, man, you don't have enough time to lift in the night, bro.
Well, I hear you.
I mean, which rabbit hole do you want to take? You pick the rabbit hole, we'll go. We'll Alice in Wonderland it the whole way, brother.
I guess, what do you think the most important thing I didn't ask you about is?
The important message I got is that the American people were attacked by the United States government and held, politically persecuted and held as hostage. Some of us may have paid bigger price than others, but the fact that any of us paid any price for this lie needs justice. There's my message.
Right on.
And I'm calling on every congressman, woman, senator, governor, sheriff, everybody across this country. You took an oath. Reread it. If you don't think you can uphold that oath anymore, no harm, no foul. Just step aside. But if you feel that it's your duty to honor that oath that you took, then honor it, no matter what the cost, because many of us paid. Many of us paid.
Chris, I really appreciate the time you've taken out of your schedule. I have one last question for you, and I'm going to ask it at the end. So if it's too personal, I can just cut it out real easy. But if the rare chance that your son were to see this, would there be anything you'd want to say to him?
Oh, man. I love you. I love you, son. Sit right here. I love him. love my whole family. Just call me. Find me. You know where I live. I got no judgment. Nothing but a big hug for you. Same thing that happened when you saw me the last time, January 16th to 22 at church, son. A big hug. And a good day. We had a good day that day. And that's all I'll say about that situation.
Right on.
But I love my son.
Well, Chris, I do appreciate you taking a lot of time out of your schedule to discuss this with me, and hopefully your story gets out there, and hopefully you get the justice and the retribution that you're seeking.
Look, man, thank you for thanking me, but it's you guys that deserve the thanks. You don't have any skin in this game, but you're fighting it. And I owe you people like you my thanks. Because we can't do it. It's a chain.
Right on.
And one link in the chain's broke, we get nothing. And that's how I take this. This is a team effort. Look, some people are on the point. Some people are back at the camp cooking dinner.
Right.
But the chain's the chain.
Yep.
So thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it, Chris. You have a good evening.
God bless you, bro.